Welcome to the Big Play Cleveland Show. I'm Gabriella Cruz alongside Chris McNeil, Nick Padone, and a big shout out to our producer, Ryan Smith. As always, we're coming off a Father's Day weekend. We got to ask McNeil, how was your Father's Day?
It was great. Had all three kids with me, watching a little bit of the U.S. Open, watched the golfers get beat up, and Nick, unfortunately, watched our Guardians get beat up a little bit. So I was flipping away from that action pretty quick into a lot of rain delay action there at the U.S. Open. Caught up with a little bit of Tiger Woods there from 2008, going into the playoffs with the Rocco Mediate. So I know I put it out there on Twitter, but there were probably a lot of dads like me getting up after taking their little nap and looking up going, why is Tiger Woods leading the U.S. Open right now?
Yeah, we did a little cookout at my parents' house for Father's Day, and we were outside. We let sports be on inside, and we came back in, and same thing. Tiger Woods was on. It was like, oh, they're in a delay, so we flipped to the Guardians. And the second that their box registered the channel change, grand slam, 5-0. I was like, all right, maybe we weren't meant to watch sports on Father's Day today, Dad.
It was nice because then we got to be more present with our dads. And I have a little video because, you got to always have a little bit of content. Papa Cruz is just a character. And
a legend.
Yeah, he got a lot of amazing Instagram DMs after this. Like, people were like, he's just the main character. This is how he rolled up to Father's Day brunch. Plain shirt. Bright blue shoes. Nothing matches. My favorite is the beginning. Wow. We just like to roast this guy. He's one of a kind, and he's hilarious, and we love our dads, so I'm glad you guys had a great weekend. Before we take our first break of the show, let's talk about the Golic Championships coming up this weekend.
Busy week for us, guys. We will be out at Firestone Country Club all weekend. The Golic Company's Championship. Come out, hang out with us, GolicGolf.com. It's one ticket, gets you into two experiences. So not only do ticket holders have an opportunity to watch legendary golf on the course, but they also receive complimentary access into the Golic Infinity Zone. That's the epicenter of all the off-course fun. That's where we'll be at. It's 50,000 square feet located at the main entrance and exit. It elevates fan experience with interactive activities, bar and lounge areas, food trucks, celebrity appearances. Once the golf is done for the day, the Golic Infinity Zone turns into a full-fledged music festival at night with live performances that you're not going to want to miss. Again, get your tickets, GolicGolf.com. We'll be out there June 18th through the 22nd. It's a ton of fun. Matt Golic is Cleveland's biggest philanthropist. It's all for great causes and great charities. They've given millions of dollars over the last 3 years to 25 different Northeast Ohio charities. So we want to see you guys out there. GolicGolf.com.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com today. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our Cleveland Sports Headlines, brought to you by Fairway Ford.
Fairway Ford offers complete customization for any vehicle on the lot with their Fairway Black Label line. This series features custom upgrades like premium wheel and tire packages, a wide variety of level or lift kits, performance enhancements, and fully customized interior options. And every Fairway Black Label truck comes with Rhino spray-in bed liner. Whether you're looking for an aggressive off-road stance, a bold street presence, or a one-of-a-kind build, Fairway Black Label delivers. As a bonus, many of these upgrades can be financed for as little as 0% APR, depending upon the vehicle line. If you dream it, they can build it. Visit fairwayfordohio.com to explore their current Black Label inventory, or give them a call to start designing yours today.
Okay, gang, the Guardians are a 500 ball club as of shooting this show, but we're in a real slump here. They've lost the last 4 series, going 3-12 during that stretch. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about this season?
I'm off the scale right now. I'm pretty apathetic about this team. I felt it set in yesterday watching the game on Sunday and Father's Day. Hey, we haven't looked good in a while. Maybe we'll show up a little bit for Sunday, for Father's Day. You got a cold one. You got your kids around. You're excited about watching the game. We lose 6-0. Nick, that really hurt me there. I knew this team had the underpinnings of not being able to reproduce what we did last year, But right now, this team looks completely lost, and I'm not exactly sure, and we'll talk to Jensen about this, but I'm not exactly sure what we're doing either. With the mix of veterans, the young guys, which young guys are playing right now, I'm not sure what we've got in the Cleveland Guardians.
Well, the apathy has, started to kick in, but I think what's more upsetting than that, Chris, it's the fact that what's the reason to tune in, on a nightly basis? It's boring baseball to watch.
Jose, now that the streak's over, now I don't know.
Yeah, it does feel like we're wasting Jose Ramirez, and it's upsetting because last year when the Guardians came on TV, it was appointment television. That guards ball moniker, it was like, how are they going to find a way to do the improbable tonight? And this season has just been the polar opposite of that. They're boring. The pitching isn't that good. The offense can't manufacture anything. I am definitely concerned about these guards, but the good news is it's a 300-game season in baseball, and there's still plenty of time to course correct, try to cling on to one of those wild card spots. But I think the days of hoping for another division title in this American League Central have sailed because the Tigers are just that good.
The Tigers are that good. But guys, if we were to manifest good things happening, because as we just pointed out, there's still a lot of games left to play.
Yeah.
What could the positive manifestation look like? AKA, Shane Bieber comes back to us, David Fry, people start to light up. What's your envisioning of something positive?
Well, that would certainly help with Bieber coming back, getting back into that starting rotation. But really, it's been the hitting. The hitting has been the problem here. What we talked about last year was that shuttle between Columbus and Cleveland, and those guys really showing a spark when it counted. And whether it was smoke and mirrors or whatever else, it seems like we haven't seen that this year. There's still some talent down there in Columbus we could potentially bring up, but boy, it seems like we're kind of grasping at straws, and we're expecting some of these young guys to perform, and that's been our formula, and it just hasn't paid off this year.
And it is, that would be my saving grace for this season, is if some of these young bats wake up. I would even take it if the Guardians didn't make the playoffs this year and it was so close, but you at least went into the offseason knowing that you've got a couple really good young bats that you could be proud of. That would be a win for me at this point, because candidly, I don't know what we have in Kyle Manzardo. I don't know what we have in some of these young hitters, Bo Naylor, Angel Martinez. None of these guys are doing anything. And I want to see Chase DeLauder. I want to see CJ Kafis. But it's hard for me to get excited about them because the young guys that we're continually sold on get up to Cleveland and they don't perform. And Chris, that's been an issue for a decade. From Bobby Bradley to Bradley Zimmer to Oscar Gonzalez. Big Christmas is now Big Columbus. Like, none of these big hitters get up to Cleveland and do anything. So we just need some semblance of offense to give me any sort of optimism about this team.
And isn't that more of an organizational thing? I mean, in Cleveland, we ask for our young guys to do a lot more than in other organizations. You don't see the Yankees. You certainly don't see L.A. We're basically high A ball right now with some of the guys that we've got up there. And you don't see that across the other organizations. And unfortunately, that's kind of our lot in life right now with the way ownership is and everything else with the Cleveland Guardians. So I don't see that changing. We just kind of got to catch magic in a bottle every so often with the young guys. And that's really our hope. It's not really much of a strategy past that.
Yeah. You sound like Andrew Barry over there. Hope is not a strategy.
Do you think I'm reaching to think that maybe it's just a matter of morale right now and behind the scenes, and maybe like we just need to see Steven Vogt like get out there and yell in somebody's face the way Tito used to do, and like that would give us a little boost? What do you think?
I hate to say
We're
it.
Beyond that.
No, I think this is a bad baseball team that employs guys that don't belong in the major leagues. I hate to be that clear and concise with it, but I do think that's what this boils down to, is that there's no rah-rah speech that can wake these guys up, because unfortunately for them, it's not their fault. They don't belong in the majors. They're minor league baseball players, and we need to get some guys up here that are serious MLB bats. What we have right now just isn't that.
But having said all that, we're still right there with the playoffs. The playoffs, right. Everything is still ahead of us. Like you say, it's a long season. So these guys start hitting a little bit and things start coming together. We could really turn things around quickly this season, not in a couple of seasons, but this season. So it would be nice. I would love that story if right now, as we go into the All-Star break here in the next month, if we can get things turned around.
That's why I believe in speaking it into existence, Chris. And for those watching, we do have a lot coming up at the ballpark. We've got our free T-shirt Fridays and our Dollar Dog Nights and our giveaways and the excitement and the new stuff and the new food. So you can come and have a good experience. Keep showing up for these guys, because you're right. We are right there, and that could really matter. Let's pivot a little bit to the Browns. I know we're still anticipating meaningful football ahead ahead of us. However, cool announcement from Jimmy Haslam that Nick Chubb will be put in the Browns Ring of Honor once he retires, which I thought was a really cool gesture. What were your thoughts on it, and how about how soon after announcing that? Was it appropriate?
I thought that was damage control. Basically, you're going to get a lot of negativity in the fan base when you get rid of Nick Chubb. I mean, he's meant so much to this organization and so much to the Cleveland Browns. He's really been the heart of our offense for years now. Saw the last playoff win. He was the guy, and there are so many people attached to him. So I knew moving on from him wouldn't be easier. And I think ownership did as well. And that's part of the reason that they made this move, put Nick Chubb into the Ring of Honor to kind of blunt that feel a little bit as they moved on from Nick Chubb.
Yeah, it hurts. I mean, you lose the most professional Cleveland Brown that this organization has had. You lose the guy that is the leader in an organization that has been absent leadership since 1999. So it does hurt. He does deserve to be in there. I thought it was a classy statement from Jimmy and D Haslam to make that, official the same day that it was official that Nick Chubb would be joining the Houston Texans.
Too soon, though? Too soon?
I don't think so. I mean, Nick Chubb
Does
is
it seem
probably
a little desperate to you that you're immediately putting him in. You got guys like Joe Thomas that had to earn their keep. Jim Brown's up there, and then all of a sudden we immediately put him in.
Chris, this is the Browns we're talking about, though. They are desperate. Nick Chubb is the best that we've had, so he does deserve to be in there right away. And Joe Thomas being the last guy that goes in there, I think Nick Chubb is a fitting best Cleveland Brown since Joe Thomas to be enshrined into the Cleveland Browns Ring of Honor whenever he decides to call it a career.
And he wrote a really sweet letter, if you guys read it. So check that out. A sweet letter to Cleveland, and he's just so beloved. It's hard not to root for this guy moving forward, right? I mean, you got to pull for him.
Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of players move on from Cleveland. He did it very classy, as you would expect from Nick Chubb.
Yep.
Class act. Thanks again to our friends at Fairway Ford. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this. The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. Excited to be joined by Mike Golic Jr., the co-host of Golic and Golic, right here on FanDuel Sports Network. Mike, thanks so much for joining us here on the program.
No, appreciate you guys having me. Happy to be part of the FDSN family. So excited for it, man. Definitely.
Absolutely. What's it been like working with your dad? Does it feel like a father-son relationship? Does it feel any different working with him or instead of some of the other media colleagues you've worked with?
Yeah, you know what? Dad and I thankfully have gotten a good bit of practice in on this front, but it doesn't change the fact that, yes, there are certain parts of this that feel like doing a show with a guy who has been in sports broadcasting for over 3 decades and is in 2 Radio Hall of Fames and has all that. And then there are certain parts, specifically anytime, especially doing a remote show where I got to explain technology to my dad, where it feels like a father-son relationship, and anybody who is, in my case, like an elder millennial who's had to help their boomer parents set up wireless internet or try and open up a new email inbox. It's a nightmare on that front. So yes, very father-son in that regard.
For sure. I have to ask you as well, your family has really deep roots here in Cleveland where our studio is based out of. Do you maintain that connection at all? Root for the Browns deep down anywhere in you?
I won't tell you guys my rooting interest because it won't make anybody happy here. But no, we still get out there. My late grandmother, till her dying day last summer, lived out in the same house my dad and his brothers grew up in. So we get back out there for Easter, for holidays every once in a while, and see my uncles Bob and Greg and a lot of my cousins out in that area. And so Cleveland still definitely has roots for the Golics. My sister went back there and worked for the Browns for a little bit when she got out of college, but never quite made it. I moved around too much as a kid to have the rooting interest necessarily aligned. So I won't ruffle any feathers on here mentioning who I did root for as a kid, but I'm team agnostic now. So I'll root for the Brownies for the duration of this show.
I love it. I appreciate that. It's actually cool. Your Uncle Bob hosts our Browns pregame show throughout all last season here on the Big Play Sports Network. So we got to jump in to some Browns talk here with Mike Golic Jr. Mike, how do you view this Browns quarterback situation from a national perspective? Here locally, we're kind of ripping takes apart. What do you make of this 4 quarterback mess that they've got going into training camp later this summer?
Yeah, I think it feels messy because right now, Shedeur Sanders and the mania around him is one of those stories that breaks contain really easily from the world of sports. And so it's always going to feel bigger and more complicated than it is. I think Joe Flacco is going to be the starting quarterback. I mean, we saw what he was able to do in really short notice coming in as Kevin Stefanski's offense and lighting the world on fire for the back half of the season a couple years ago. Now you give the guy a whole offseason to come in here and sort of marinate, even if he is a little older. I'll tell you what, I saw Joe Flacco at the pool out in Lake Tahoe at the American Century Classic. That dude's jacked. Like, I forget how old specifically Joe Flacco is. The dude is way more put together than we've ever given him credit for. So, no, I think he's going to be the guy. You know, Kenny Pickett would be nice to get some returns on that. You saw a little bit of it in Philly last year, but I think the two rookies are going to have to sit. And I think for, you know, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be the challenge of what do you do when you're the guy coming in, getting minimal reps and having competition already in the same class for you coming out of the draft. And I don't just think any of that predicates it on either of them and their skill sets being able to capitalize on that limited opportunity to all of a sudden vault into the starting role at this point with the runway they have.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because obviously the Browns have had their struggles drafting and developing one rookie quarterback. Now you're trying to do that with two rookie quarterbacks, and you've got 2 first-round picks next year. So if neither Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel is the answer, you probably are looking towards the NFL draft next year. Do you feel like at some point in the season, Browns fans will get to see Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders on the field?
I think, you know, their job going through training camp is probably going to be able to be figuring out who that is. Like, if things go poorly this season, we've got to know which of these guys we're going to give a bunch of reps to try and figure that out, because you do have a couple of lottery tickets. Like Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders have both played a ton of high-level quarterback in college football. Both of them are lacking in certain areas physically with some of the tools and ability-wise that obviously caused them to drop Shedeur's situation a bit more complicated than that, but still a guy who talent-wise wasn't a number 1 overall pick caliber player. And so your job is to figure out, hey, if things go poorly, who do we want to give these reps to? Because you're right. That's what you've got to figure out. Did we strike gold and all of a sudden, if the rest of the Brown season tanks and you hit on one of these guys, can it save you next year and allow you to be more creative with those 2 first-round picks? Or do you have to get a jump start on scouting a 2026 quarterback class that right now people are hopeful will mimic more of the depth of the 2024 class?
For sure. Mike, what's your perception on Andrew Berry as a whole? Kind of difficult for us to evaluate here in Cleveland because of the Deshaun Watson trade. You don't really have those 3 first-round picks. Now you're a little bit limited with your cap space. What's the national view on Andrew Berry?
Talented, but you're right. It's hard to not hold that against him. Wherever the call came from in terms of who gave the final sign off on Deshaun Watson, you know, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry's hands are still on that. Their fingerprints are still on that. And usually you don't survive that as a GM, which I think is a testament to how well respected they both still are in that building. Kevin Stefanski was coach of the year a couple of years ago. Like it's a really difficult situation to handicap because they did build a good roster. That was the one thing that was so maddening about the entire Deshaun Watson episode, was you saw anytime they put another quarterback in there, the rest of this roster that looked for a while like a Super Bowl contending roster. And then I think as injury and attrition started to hit, offensive line, certainly linebacker last year and all these different areas, it started to be, all right, looks like a playoff roster around these guys. You're worried that this current iteration of the roster they did a very good job building may have its best days behind it, but I still think it seems like it's a talented GM and one who was able to create the foundation that they just mistimed spectacularly with the quarterback.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I kind of want to pivot things now to the AFC North conversation. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers decided to, release the NFL world from the chokehold that he had us in for a little bit there. Finally put pen to paper, signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. In your view, how does he fit that offense, and what's that mean for the rest of the AFC North?
Yeah, the Arthur Smith fit with him is weird. They do very different things. It's been, painfully obvious over the last few years. Aaron Rodgers really likes things a particular way. That was kind of the friction at the end of the Matt LaFleur Green Bay tenure, was Aaron likes ecstatic. He likes to know where everything is and then be able to operate from there. For Arthur Smith, it's a much heavier run play action offense, although Arthur said it himself, you don't bring Aaron Rodgers in here to go and over-index on running the football, even though you drafted Caleb Johnson to try and offset the Najee Harris stuff. So I think if we try and strip away all of the Aaron Rodgers of it all, because kind of like we talked about with Shedeur, it becomes about so many different things when you bring him up. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, because of Mike Tomlin and the culture around that team, are never going to be an inherently bad team. I think we saw that foundation last year and what it was able to do for them and keep them consistently like a wild card weekend team. Aaron Rodgers, if you can keep him upright, playing closer to the football you saw in the back half of last season, I think can maintain that standard. I don't think they're going to be an offense that goes out and is on par with the Bengals. I don't think they're going to be on par with the Baltimore Ravens. Whether or not the Bengals defense allows them into that upper tax bracket remains to be seen. But right. I think they have a chance to be right around where they've been. And then if the offensive line comes together and can protect an aging Aaron Rodgers, then maybe you can start to chip away at that ceiling. I still wouldn't put them in the Super Bowl contender category, but I definitely think this can be an improved team. But it's really more about the offensive line in my mind than it is about Aaron necessarily.
We've had this debate here at the Big Play Sports Network in our studio. What organization right now is better suited in their quarterback situation? Is it the Browns that have 2 fun lottery tickets with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders? Or is it the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers, who's 41 this year? You got Will Howard, Mason Rudolph behind him. Which quarterback room right now is better fit for the future, or they both got to get back to the drawing board?
Well, I think the Browns may be better fit for the future because there's a better fit for collapse here. Like I could see this going poorly more easily than I could see that for Pittsburgh, who again, just because of Mike Tomlin, the floor is in such a different place than everywhere else. And that's commendable, but not necessarily good for getting your quarterback of the future. So if you want, and again, having the 2 first-round picks, the trade they made during the draft, all that stuff really positions them well to think long and hard about their future next year and potentially pull off an incredible Houdini act of getting out from under what should have been a quarterback contract that capsized the franchise.
Man, very well said. Last one with Mike Golic Jr. before we get you out of here. Mike, Browns win total right now on FanDuel Sportsbook. Last time I checked, 4.5. That number is pretty low, but that would be double what the Browns won last year if they could hit that over. Where do you fall on that number?
Oh man, I'd probably say under. Man, you know what? My gut instinct said over. It might just be 5, but I don't know, man. It's tough for me. I think the combination and the real place that I started to get concerned about Browns, we know quarterback's been perennially the issue there. But when Bill Callahan left and you had pretty much 3 of your top tackles go down with injuries at the end of the same season, I'm like, all right, those are cracks in the foundation. And listen, Joel, Wyatt, like the rest of that group, still really good players on the inside, but you had a real difference maker and a coach at that position that was sort of the bedrock of your team. Nick Chubb's gone now. Like there's really been a turning of the page around that core of what Kevin Stefanski's offense did. And so I do have high-end concerns there. So I'll say just slightly over, but I don't feel great about it.
Man, it is a new era of Browns football. Great breaking it down with Mike Golic Jr. Check out Golic and Golic right here with us on the FanDuel Sports Network on TV. Mike, appreciate you hopping on the Big Play Cleveland Show.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Infinity. Luxury experiences for those who dare to be different. Visit infinityofbeechwood.com today.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. My name is Nick Padone for Northeast Factory Direct, and I have a little advice. If a kitchen remodel is on your radar, you can skip the stress, you can skip the sticker shock, and you can go see my friends over at Northeast Factory Direct. You will be able to get a full 10x10 kitchen for just $2,600. That includes all the features that you actually want. It's solid wood construction, soft closed drawers, full extension glides in the latest designer styles. We're not talking about that particle board junk or whatever the big box stores are going to try to pass off at double the price. And here's the best part. You don't have to figure it all out by yourself. Northeast Factory Direct has an incredible team of kitchen designers that will make this process a whole lot easier than what you think. You just bring in their measurements. They help you design your dream kitchen using their 3D big screen rendering system. You're going to see exactly what your new kitchen looks looks like before you agree or commit to anything. It's fast, it's simple, it's free. There's no pressure, there's no sales pitch. It's just people that actually know what they're doing who actually want to help you. They also have countertops and flooring, so you can tackle that whole remodel under one roof. So go to the nearest location or visit northeastfactorydirect.com to book that free design consultation today. Cleveland, Euclid, Macedonia, North Canton. When you're there, make sure to ask for that extra special big play bonus. Get a nice little hookup on your new kitchen this summer. It's time for Bringing the Heat with our friend Jensen Lewis. Jensen, what is going on with our Cleveland Guardians, man?
Well, simply they're a bad team right now, and the numbers just kind of bear out from an objective standpoint. You guys look at it coming into this week, 6-13 in their last 19, hitting 225 as a team, only scoring just a tick over 3 runs, guys, allowing over 4, almost 4.5. And boy, when you look up at the standings already, almost a week and a half out of first place. So, the off day couldn't have come at a better time on Monday. But again, no rest for the weary here, right? You get the newly acquired Rafi Devers into the San Francisco Giant lineup, and you face a real tough customer in Robbie Ray on a Tuesday. So they got to try and find a way to get the offense rolling. And maybe it'll happen, guys, ironically, at the back end of this road trip when they get to go to Sacramento, a place where offense has actually been a lot better for pretty much any team that's played there along with the Athletics. But guys, offensively up and down, really outside of Jose, not a lot to kind of write home about with 1 through 9, the way they're going right now.
Okay, I know there's not a lot to write home about, but can you give us any light here? Is there any optimism as we look at these next few weeks of games that Guardians fans can be looking for out of this team?
I'll be honest, Chris, I like the way that Tanner Bybee is starting to throw the ball and the consistency with which he's gotten that. I think that over the last couple of weeks, if you're looking for maybe a glass half full, and Cade Smith too, who has been really phenomenal out of the back end of the bullpen, those are kind of the few bright lights. And I would hope that in more of a spacious ballpark and kind of intrigued guys to see not only the San Francisco series, but the Athletic series too, just how the ball travels so differently. You're in the Bay Area, you get the Marine layer that's in there, but then you go to Sacramento, and as someone who's played there many moons ago, it just kind of depends on where that heat and humidity might be once we get to the weekend. But all that being said, got to just focus on winning series first. And they've got not only a tough end of the road trip, but remember, Toronto comes into Cleveland to begin the homestand next week, and they're playing very well right now. So got to really kind of clean it up from a situational hitting perspective, and also get some better pitching out of the back end of the bullpen.
Jose Ramirez's on-base streak came to an end here at 39 games. Jensen, there's been a lot of online chatter, and I'm sure you've probably seen some of it. Are the Guardians wasting another year of Jose Ramirez? He turns 33 this season, and I think there's a lot of fans frustrated with the fact that we're enjoying a living legend here, and it would be nice to win a World Series with him on the roster.
Yeah, and Nick, I know I've told you guys throughout our first handful of months here that I was so perplexed by you have a team that goes to the American League Championship Series. You trade a guy that had given you 30-plus homers, 100-plus RBI, back-to-back seasons in Josh Naylor. And I get the other side of that. Hey, they weren't going to extend him, or they didn't feel as though it'd be a proper investment. That to me is a message that goes directly to the clubhouse of, we're kind of getting rid of someone in the middle of our order, and we don't have a really bona fide answer for that. And listen, I played with Carlos Santana, early part of his career. He's never been an average guy as far as, the production goes there, as he had some good power years, sure. But it felt like Band-Aids, man. And that's kind of a downtrodden feeling as a group. They'll never come out and say it, but that's a pretty significant drop. And then, of course, we talked about Jimenez. We know the offensive struggles he's had. But, guys, 2 ways to win a game, right? Prevent runs, which Andreas, one of the best in the business at doing, or be able to score runs. And when you decimate the middle of the lineup the way this front office did, you're kind of getting what you sowed here. So it's really on them to go out at the deadline, if this team is still alive for a playoff spot, to try and bolster this lineup. No question about it.
Do you see that happening? Do you see this team being a buyer at the trade deadline?
Man, I think if you look at Chris, honestly, the way that the parity has played out, and this was also a theme I think we talked about at the beginning of the year, you could make a case for maybe 7, upwards of 8 teams that would legitimately have a chance to win the American League. So as it kind of stands here, guys, as we enter play this week, you look at 6 teams, 7 teams all within a game or 2 games of each other in this playoff chase. So absolutely a boatload of time, right? 85, 90 plus games left to go. So still time to do that. But it is incumbent upon the guys that are in this clubhouse and maybe some of the upper tier prospects there in AAA to prove it to this front office. Because again, you can have all of the assets you want, but it's about what happens on the field. And it's a 500 team right now. So I think they've got to show here in the next 3 weeks that they're serious if this front office is going to make any additional moves outside of it.
Jensen, we're a 500 team, but there is an over 600 team. Detroit has 46 wins, the most in Major League Baseball. Are they the best team in baseball to you right now?
I would say they're probably the most balanced, Gabby, when you look at where just the overall statistics are. I mean, the rotation has been phenomenal. Of course, we know Tarek Skubal has been absolutely amazing in defense of his American League Cy Young Award. I'll tell you the thing that stands out on the pitching side is the back end of their bullpen, which is kind of the hardest thing to replicate year in and year out. That's actually been something that's been pretty consistent. The only thing that stuck out is they haven't really struck out a lot of people, which is kind of crazy knowing the stats, or at least what they had last year, the stuff they brought back. It's the offense, plain and simple. It's a top 6 offense scoring wise. They're hitting the long ball at a ballpark that's traditionally not as easy to do, even though with them moving in the fences years ago. But all in all, what do they do really well? They just win series. They win high scoring games. They win low scoring games. They've been really impressive all the way around thus far.
Alrighty, guys, it is time for the Northeast Factory direct question of the week. We hate going there, but on the skid that the Guardians are currently on, if they decide to be sellers at the MLB trade deadline, what names are we talking about this team potentially moving on from?
Yeah, I mean, the veteran guys, right? Santana, who's not going to be here next year. Lane Thomas will certainly be a guy that clubs will call about. I don't know if a Nolan Jones or even, David Fry coming back. I would say that they wouldn't want to move Fry, just knowing what he means to this clubhouse. And then, you're looking back, you're going to have to take calls on Emmanuel Clase. You're going to have to listen to potential packages that teams would want to give you for that. So kind of crazy, guys. Here we are just doing shows at the truck park for the postseason. Now we're kind of talking about, hey, this team could be dismantled maybe in the next month or so.
Oh, we were just talking about that in the break before we got to you, Jensen. We were hoping for more truck park coverage. Well, thanks so much for bringing the heat. This is once again with Jensen Lewis. We appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.
You got it.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Pure AV, luxury home automation. Experience your dream smart home by visiting pureavcorp.com. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our Fill in the Blank segment brought to you by our friends at Pure AV. Pure AV specializes in sales, service, and installation of a variety of smart home technologies. They can help you get the perfect sports watching setup with their high-performance audio and video displays. They truly do it all. So if you're unhappy with your current setup, Pure AV will even come in and fix their competitors' work to make sure that your setup is exactly how you envisioned. And if you're worried about keeping a clean interior, they offer hidden audio and video options that allow you to keep that elegant look without sacrificing your favorite technology. Pure AV can set you up with invisible architectural speakers that are hidden in your walls and ceilings, as well as disappearing TVs that vanish behind art or mirrors. Visit pureavcorp.com to see everything that they offer for your home today. Alrighty, Jose Ramirez is a top blank player in Cleveland baseball history.
Thinking about this earlier, in my lifetime, I think he's the best player that I've seen play. So I went back and said, I know all the old heads out there are going to bring up all these older players who are better than him. So I went back to the WAR, and I looked at who are the top 10 Cleveland Guardians all-time WAR leaders. You got Knapp, number 1, Tris Speaker, number 2, Lou Boudreau, number 3, Bob Feller, Earl Averill, and then number 5, or actually number 6, Jose Ramirez. He's right there, just above Kenny Lofton, just above Jim Thome. That's exactly where I would have expected him to be. He's definitely a top 5 player all time, and certainly the best player that I've seen in my lifetime play for the Cleveland Indians/Guardians.
Yeah, absolutely. And as somebody that's way younger and didn't even have an opportunity to watch those 90 teams that were so fun and meant so much to this city, Jose, for me, on my personal list is one, and I couldn't even tell you who 2 is behind him. He has that much of a gap behind the next favorite Cleveland Indians, Cleveland Guardians player of all time. He's the textbook definition of stability, both defensively and offensively. And the fact that he took that hometown discount to stay here with our Cleveland Guardians, it means everything. And there will be a statue of that guy outside of Progressive Field one day. And one day I'll take my kids there and tell them the stories of the times that I got to see Jose Ramirez play in that stadium in the postseason, and all the great memories that he's gave us along the way, from the home runs to the home run pitch line to the down goes Anderson stuff. Jose means everything to Cleveland baseball, and that's why I want to see so badly them to win something meaningful with him in a Guardians uniform.
I think there's a beautiful poetic irony about Jose Ramirez, too, because he's not one of the players who is fluently speaking to us in English, but he communicates himself and his style of play so loud and clear for fans. That's why he's so beloved. And the thing about him, it doesn't matter if he's on a losing team or not. This dude is always hustling and always putting his heart out there. And I think that's a big differentiator for him, too, for this city. How about Blank? Actually, if the Guardians are sellers at the deadline, Blank is untouchable in a trade, you think?
Jose, I would say, unless you're getting a haul for him, that'd be the guy. Him and Quan. I don't know. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot of pieces that I'm looking at here, Nick, that I say, boy, we cannot move that guy. He's going to be just somebody who we're going to build around in the future, because I don't really think those pieces exist right now in this team.
I agree. I don't think anybody should be untouchable right now. And Jose Ramirez, it means everything to the Guardians, but he's, entering his mid-30s, and at some point, I don't know, the conversation will have to be had. I don't know that the Guardians do have any untouchables right now.
Which is crazy to think about.
We were just 3 wins away from a World Series a year ago.
Blank will be the Browns' leading rusher this season.
I think it's going to be Jerome Ford.
Wow.
I think he will be. I think he's going to be the veteran presence there in the backfield. I think he's going to bring the young guys along. But I think ultimately he's going to get his share of the carries, and I think he's ultimately going to be the leading rusher for the Browns next year.
I'm going to go completely opposite of that. I think it's going to be Quinshon Judkins,
all right,
Dylan Sampson, and then Jerome Ford.
He'll be third.
I really think that this is a new era. I think it's a new backfield. I really think the only reason why Jerome Ford is even making this team is because of his willingness to contribute on special teams, and the fact that he restructured his contract about a month ago, and he took a pay cut to guarantee himself a roster spot. So I think it's a new era, and Quinshon Judkins is going to be running that rock for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm excited about that. I really am. I look at this situation, Chris, and I know there's a lot of people that were upset about losing Nick Chubb. What if I would have spin and zone it this way for you people that are still really upset about it? What if Nick Chubb would have been Quinshon Judkins' Carlos Hyde? He could be in the way of Quinshon Judkins getting on the field and becoming the next Nick Chubb for this organization. I'm very high on Quinshon Judkins. I've heard that he had a phenomenal rookie minicamp, and I can't wait to watch him in a Cleveland uniform after a great time, a championship time in an Ohio State Buckeye uniform.
Easy to root for, right? I mean, that's the easiest transition you're going to make away from a Nick Chubb, is bringing in a guy who just won the Natty with Ohio State and Quinshon Judkins. So I think everybody is kind of rooting for that. I just think Jerome Ford, at the end of the day, his veteran leadership, they're going to want him on the field, at least initially, enough that he's going to end up with the most yards.
Judkins is young. He's fast. He's strong. I'm so excited.
You don't have to sell me.
I'm so excited.
You don't have to sell me on him. I'm already sold.
It's positive that we have options here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Day saying the Browns and Steelers are his 2 favorite teams is...
It doesn't happen. That's impossible. Come on, Jason Day. You're from Dublin right there. This is not something that can happen. It's like saying Ohio State and Michigan. You've got to stay on one side of the fence. You cannot hop the fence on this one.
I saw somebody online say this is officially Brad Paisley territory, where he showed up on Hard Knocks and didn't even know who Joel Bitonio was, but proclaimed to be a big Browns fan. Like, dude, this has been our starting left guard for a decade here. You don't know who he is. So, yeah, Jason Day, not a real Browns fan if he's also a Steelers fan.
Another big thanks to our friends at Pure AV. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows. Energy efficient products at an affordable price. Visit smartchoicewindows.com today.
Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. Want to tell you about our friends at Smart Choice. They're brought to you by Smart Choice Windows and Smart Choice Baths. If you've been thinking about upgrading your home this spring, look no further than Smart Choice Windows and Smart Choice Bath. Smart Choice Windows is running a great deal right now, too, by the way. It's buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and it gets even better because they're offering 0% financing for 24 months. Or if you prefer, they also have that no down payment option with monthly payments as low as $199. Some restrictions will apply there, but if your bathroom needs an update, the same great team at Smart Choice Baths has you covered. They're offering right now $1,500 off a brand new shower or tub this month. So if you've been putting off that remodel, now's the perfect time to go for it. If you're ready for quieter, more energy efficient windows or a bathroom that finally works for your life, make the call, dial 440-WIN-DOES, or head over to smartchoicewindows.com and smartchoicebaths.com to schedule your free, no-pressure estimate today. Guys, I'm going to give you a situation. You're going to tell me what the smart choice would be. The Guardians need to fix their offense. The smart choice would be to...
They need to fix their offense both in the short term and the long term. I'm at the point now, Nick, where I'm looking long term with this team. So I am selling on vets. I'm bringing up these young guys, the Chases of the world, maybe even Bazana later on. But I want to see these guys hit right now. Sorry to the Carlos Santanas. If we can move those type of guys, I would move them, bring up the young guys.
I like that, Chris. My smart choice for the Guardians is to call up Chase DeLauder. I don't really know what's taken so long. This is a guy that has a little bit of an injury bug, and he's finally healthy. So why not capitalize on this window that you have where he's healthy, he's seeing the ball very well, and see if he could get you some consistent production in that outfield. Let's see Chase DeLauder.
All right, we've been talking about that Browns stadium situation the last few weeks. The smart choice would be to
make the Haslams pay 100% for the new stadium, whether it's at Brook Park, whether it's up here. I like the fact that, we do have a couple of options here, but the one thing that's non-negotiable for me is I want to see the Haslams pay 100% for their stadium.
Wow. I'm going to say that the smart choice is to go to Brook Park. I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. The downtown stadium just doesn't make sense. I don't know where they would put it. I don't understand what the city's plan is, and that's after we've heard from 2 of the top politicians that are bootstrapping the efforts to keep the Browns in Cleveland. I'm saying the smart choice is to move this thing to Brook Park and bring on Taylor Swift and some of the big events that we could finally get here in Northeast Ohio. We deserve it.
We haven't talked about it, but Darius Garland is out for 4 or 5 months with that toe recovery. This might affect his trade value. The smart choice this offseason would be to...
Have they clarified that, by the way, on Darius Garland? Because they said he's going to be out 4 or 5 months, but he'll be back for training camp, and that math doesn't really math here.
Chris, there's something afoot with Darius Garland, but there really is. That doesn't make any sense at all, and it does negatively impact his trade value regardless, whether it's 5 months or whether it's ready for training camp. I don't think anybody's touching that contract with DG not being 100%, so I'm going to say the smart choice is to run back Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, but you got to trade Jared Allen to make that the super smart choice.
Is that an actual phrase?
Something afoot? Yeah, you never heard that.
Okay, that's awesome.
And I like your take on this. I think I'd run it back. I'd see what I can do with Allen. I do think that we need to get more physical. I'd also like to bring in a backup center, somebody who can really spell some of the Allen minutes right now. So we do need a change, but I think that change either comes with Allen or for some of these backup role guys.
Okay. Well, one other thing, we had the Magic's blockbuster deal for Desmond Bain.
There's nothing smart about that. And 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane. They gave up more for Desmond Bane than what the Cavs gave up for Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Kobe Altman looks pretty intelligent after that one, and it just goes to show that the NBA is the sports craziest soap opera every single year, and it's just beginning. The finals are still going on, and we have Desmond Bane getting traded for 4 first-round picks.
Does that tell you about the East a little bit, though?
Wide open.
It's wide open. Everybody thinks they have a shot. Everybody thinks they're one player away, and that's part of the reason with the Cavs. I guess I'm a little bit more optimistic if we do run it back, because I like the pieces we have right now, and we only have to get a little bit more to get over that hump, whereas other teams are trying to take some big swings right now, and I think there are some swings and misses that are happening, a.k.a. what just happened with Orlando.
Thanks again for watching the Big Play Cleveland Show. Don't forget, we've got the College Championships this weekend. We'll be out there. Great excitement. Be sure to check them out online. And